Hi everybody, I've lived in New York for 10 years, so obviously I've had a lot of different experiences, good and bad, living in this city. I've done a video talking about things I like about New York, and in this video I'm going to talk about some of the things I don't like so much about this place. But I'm only going to mention 4 things. In the video about liked, I mentioned 6. So the balance is in favor of liking New York, which is obviously why I'm still here. But like any place, New York City is not perfect and it has certain flaws. One of the flaws that I think impacts me the most is just the amount of trash on the streets and the smell in general in certain areas. Growing up in Australia, it was very clean and there was very much a mentality about putting stuff in the bin. But in certain parts of New York City, you just walk the streets and there's like so much trash on the ground. It just really bothers me and it annoys me. I'm like, why can't people just put stuff in bins? It's really not that complicated. But for whatever reason, a lot of people don't do that. I mean, admittedly, in certain areas, there aren't many trash cans, but still, it's not an excuse. So that kind of filth drives me crazy because I just think it's such disrespect for the environment. And New York is such an amazing city that it just bothers me that it's kind of dirtied in that way. And it's something that could be so easily fixed. And then obviously when you have trash everywhere, there's a smell, but the smell is more related perhaps to the fact that the way the waste is managed here, all the bins go out and all the garbage bags go out in the street and there's just trash everywhere. So that's number 1. Number 2, New York is a very fast-paced city. There's a lot going on constantly, 24 hours a day. So a lot of people are understandably stressed and irritated and frustrated, and you can very easily get caught up in that. And I certainly think that I get more easily frustrated and more easily irritated living in this city than I would perhaps in somewhere more quiet or less busy. So that's something that you really need to be mindful of if you're going to spend a lot of time here, that you don't allow yourself to be too impacted by that lifestyle and that energy, because you can very easily get caught up in it and very quickly and very soon find yourself getting irritated and angry about absolutely nothing, which you see constantly on the subway and in the streets and all that. So it's really something that you really need to be mindful of. Number 3 is the fact that, although I mentioned in another video that New York is a global city and it's great and all of that, I think one of the downsides of that is that it has a somewhat inward looking focus. It's almost like the rest of the world doesn't exist, and you can get so caught up in New York and Manhattan and all of that, that I think people start to forget that there's a whole other part of the country that exists and there's a whole other world that exists. That New York City really is just a blip on the map. But there's so much activity here that people just get consumed by it and can't really see beyond it. And I think that's why it's good to leave this place periodically, just to be reminded that yes, there is a world outside of New York City. There's only 8.5 million people here. There's billions of people that live in the world. There's 200 countries. It's a massive universe. So I think that sometimes bothers me that I find myself getting consumed by New York City and forgetting that really there's a huge world out there that awaits exploration. And then my final point, which most people would be aware of, I'm not sure, is that there is extreme inequality in this city, especially economic inequality. And although the city itself does a lot to try and manage that and address it, it's obvious. You've got billionaires on the one hand and other people who are nothing. And I know that exists all over the world, but you definitely see it here in New York City as well. And there's a lot of people who are homeless, a lot of people who have nothing, and they're completely dependent on others to help them. And then you have other people who are billionaires. There's money to burn, there's money everywhere. And I don't really know what the solution to that is, and I don't necessarily think it's unique to New York, but it's certainly something that bothers me. So those are my 4 things. There might be more, but I would have tried and focus on the positive. And if you've had an experience of living in New York, or if you visited and you've had other experiences that you haven't really enjoyed, please feel free to share them and talk about them. Thank you. Bye.